So today's intent is to talk about when I started to see the mask fall of my in-laws. Someone has asked in the past, and I've even talked about how they seemed perfect to me. Someone had commented recently, so you really didn't notice any red flags or see anything wrong with your in-laws before? And no, I didn't. At first, not only because of my own childhood trauma that I'm now addressing and my codependency, I saw them as perfect. They were Christians, they were pillars, they're a upper middle class family, higher class than me. And, my husband's sisters are beautiful and they're just quintessential, like American everything's. So no, I didn't see anything wrong. I'm sure this is kind of the whole codependency thing, but if anything, their echelon made me feel even lower and like I was lucky to be in their family. I'm not putting that on them as like a blame for them. That's my unresolved trauma, that codependency in me that made me see them that way. I'm not putting on them, oh, they were, but whatever. So the things I'm going to talk about today are small. None of these things themselves broke the camel's back. Rather, it was 16 years of things occurring that came to a head in the 2 years of exacerbated, completely crazy abuse that I already talked about. For those who are following me, you know that I've kind of backed up now to before the no contact stuff. So I admit I've been nervous today to film this one, to post this one, because again, taken alone, a lot of these probably are really minor and I'll probably sound like I'm really just bitching about anything I can about my in-laws, but these I'm going to respect my inner process, that these are things that stuck out to me, that kind of were that mask falling moments for me, being like, whoa, this doesn't jive with who they've made themselves out to be, who I kind of have put them on a pedestal to be. Again, I won't put it all on them. I had created this image of them as well. And just a reminder, I don't think I'm perfect. So am I saying that for me, you? I don't know. Again, the mentioning of these things are just times that stick out in my mind of when it was kind of, whoa, this isn't who I thought you were. These will be a random smattering chronologically. These are just as I prepared to talk about this topic, things that either were already on my mind or that I thought of as I tried to think along this topic line. So this spans any time in the 16 years. And I already talked so long that I'm going to run out of time to even give the first example. So I'm sorry, long-winded as usual, and please check out part 2. First one up is when middle sister-in-law got married. She got married at a resort near Mount Hood on the West Coast. I, at this point, still lived in West Palm Beach, Florida, and was finishing up my pharmacy degree. In fact, I was in the last year, and in the last year of pharmacy school is when you do a bunch of internships. I had an internship that was starting literally the week of her wedding. I had to do some finagling with my preceptor. That's sort of the boss of your internship, because technically you are not, like, your internship matters above all else. You're not supposed to do things like that when you are assigned an internship, but whatever, I figured it out with my preceptor and flew to the West Coast to this Mount Hood resort wedding. I can't remember the timing of the flights. All that I remember is that we left it was a total red eye, and my boyfriend at the time, landed in wherever it was, Portland, I can't remember, Seattle, I don't know where we flew into. I just remember being exhausted, absolutely exhausted. I'd had 3 hours of sleep. This Mount Hood resort, so that's where some of the guests are staying, but several other people are staying at this nicest house I've ever been in my life, I'm pretty sure. Was overlooking the water, had an amazing view of Mount Hood, was like a 10-bedroom, if not more, just masterpiece. This house was like nothing I've ever seen. So in the rental car, we pull up to this Mount Hood, and I can't remember who showed us to our room, But when they showed us to a room, it was like kind of the afterthought room of the house. So there was a room in the basement that was just like 10 beds, and a lot of the beds were like double bunks as well. And I remember thinking, and maybe even saying to my husband, boyfriend at the time, this can't be right. There's like 10, 12 bedrooms in this mansion. You're the brother of the bride. You're one of her two siblings. There's no way that we're like assigned to the party bedroom, like of the non, I don't know, just of anyone, kind of random in a sense. Turns out that is the bedroom that we were assigned to. There were enough other people that were important enough or more important to middle sister-in-law than her own brother that that was the room that we stayed in. And I remember being so absolutely exhausted from flying in from an internship that I put on earplugs, I put on an eye thing so that I could get any sleep from. I don't mean to assume that someone should treat their siblings like I would treat mine, but I guess essentially that is what I'm doing here. It just blew my mind. I could not imagine spending the money to have at least 12 bedroom, absolute mansion like I've never been in before, and not give my siblings one of the rooms, especially a sibling who had flown 3 time zones to come to my wedding. Again, I realize I am totally being biased here, and well, I wouldn't have done that, but it did seem inappropriate to me, and that was kind of my first, wow, you care about your image with your friends and making sure your friends have these private, nice bedrooms in this place. You care about your image and standing with them over that of your treatment of your own brother, your own sibling. Again, it's not like the straw broke the camel's back. I'm just trying to, I realize for anyone who doesn't watch these like perfectly in order, I'm just trying to outline just certain times that stick out in my memory that maybe now I can forget about and get them out of my brain, that I felt like my in-laws really kind of like, whoa, changed who I thought they were and what they thought of my relationship with them, or just who they were in general. Next up is oldest sister-in-law. So the summer of 2019, when I was starting to do a lot better with my boundaries, they were going to come up to the Minneapolis area, as they usually do in the summer, to see my parent-in-laws who live up there, and they wanted us to come up and stay at the house. And we were like, man, I mean, no, we're not going to come and stay in the 2-bedroom condo that in-laws also have up in northern Minneapolis, not when we, have a comfortable home that we live in. But we just want to see you. We want to see you so much. And if you're driving back and forth each day that Bethany's taking PTO, I took 4 PTO days. If you're driving back and forth, we won't see you as much. So we were like, fine, happy medium. We will pay, we will buy, and we will pay for a hotel that's nearby the Minneapolis parent-in-laws, so that, fine, so that we can see you from the moment we all eat breakfast till we go to bed at night. Where we reserved was at a water park hotel, because we thought that, well, there are going to be times that we don't want to be with them all the time. They don't know this, but there are going to be times where we want to leave. So we'll buy, a little water park hotel that has some slides, we can be in it, whatever. And my husband must have let that slip, because all of a sudden sister-in-law knows that we're staying at a place with water slides that has some like pool amenities. And she asks me, maybe you can just she asked me if they could come and hang out at the water park. And I said, no, the reservation's pretty specific about you having to have wristbands, and to like, you have to like get into the water park. And she says, well, maybe you can just like open like a outdoor emergency exit and then just let us in. And I was like, so open an emergency exit to the water park and let you in, when it specifically says as part of the reservation that, you need to have a wristband, and like people are paying extra to be at this hotel. So I had emailed her back, and I still kind of remember the email, because again, this was 2019 summer. This is when I was trying to like work better on my boundaries. But I didn't want to be confrontational. So I kind of said, haha, I can't tell if you're joking. You're asking me to like let you in an emergency exit to let you into this water park. And she responds back, yeah, we do it here in Chicago for our kids' birthdays. We go stay at a place with a pool, and we We invite friends and then we just open up, the emergency exit door to let them in. We figure that the staff would be fine with it. And I didn't say this to her, but it was like, well, if you figure they would be fine with it, well, then why don't you just go ahead and ask them if that's okay with them? I told her I wasn't comfortable with it and it wasn't happening. She pushed back a little bit more on it. I can't remember how. I just remember that she kind of pushed my boundaries on it and I was like, it's not happening. I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not about to say that I'm perfect. Again, I realize you might not watch these posts in order. This isn't to say every little thing about my in-laws that I think they're crappy about. I'm a crappy person too. I'm not a perfect person. This post is about times that my in-laws just slightly stepped outside the perfect image that I had of them. The other thing with my older sister-in-law doing this is she is very Christian and would push on me ways in which she didn't think I was doing a good job, because just coming out and saying it, I have already. I'm not really at this point. I don't know what I believe in. I don't know where I'm going to end up. I think I have enough anger right now that I'm working through with my conservative Christian upbringing that I don't have a church and I don't really pray at the moment, even though I'm praying for the right house in Florida. Please help me with that. Anyway, and I realize the whole Christianity thing is, Christians are human too, but just the way that she would get the girls Bibles for Christmas when she knew that we weren't going to church and just really push Christianity on us. It was like, you're a Christian, but you do things like be shady with the water park hotel. I'm probably splitting hairs there again. This is my TikTok and these are my interpretations. Similarly, another time that they were in the cities, we asked them to meet us at an indoor play place. This is an indoor play place where you pay at the door. There's not really a staff. You slide your card, the door pops for you, whatever. So we asked, them to meet us there. I guess they had gotten there first. And we got there, slid our card right as brother-in-law gets to the door and goes, oh, you should have just called. We would have just opened the door for you. Again, it's like, I'll pay for the services I use. I'm okay. Again, because I'm so scared and nervous of how this is going to be taken. Maybe I deserve that. These are just times that my view of my in-laws shifted slightly. Not saying that these make them a monster. Not saying that this is what broke the camel's back with my relationship. I'm just saying these are times in my brain that very clearly I remember something shifted for me. So here's another one. There was a time that we were, again, visiting the in-laws with oldest sister-in-law there, middle sister-in-law as usual, nowhere to be seen. And my oldest sister-in-law and her husband were talking about there was a academy that they wanted to get their child into in Chicago, and they were going to they were laughing about how they were going to fudge some part of the application process so that their child could get either a free ride or some major assistance into this academy. And again, this was another time where it's like, man, you're these Christians who are really loud to me about the fact that I'm not, but I can look at you and tell you I don't think I've ever fudged data on some sort of application to get something that I shouldn't. I might be too paranoid for that. Maybe as part of my mental whatever I have going on, I think I'm just too paranoid to do that stuff. I already can't sleep at night. I can't do things like that to make it worse. This next one is more so a time that I started to find my voice. So on that group chat, I don't need to remind you about it. You've heard about the group chat a million times. There were a couple times that oldest sister-in-law would talk about a free food Friday. I don't know if they were going to I don't know what they were doing in their Chicago suburb, but there was a free food Friday and she would send pictures of the great haul produce that she would come home with on this free food Friday. And I might lose some followers here, but there was one time where I had just had it. And I wrote back, already taking a deep breath. I wrote back and I said, man, I am in the wrong field because I am working every single day and I have to actually pay for my food. There is no free food Friday for me. And my father-in-law side texted me and said, Bethany, I have a feeling that what you said to Julie on the group chat hurt her feelings. And it'd be nice if you could apologize to her, but on the group chat. And I responded to him something like, It hurts my feelings that this is the third or fourth time that she's bragged about Free Food Friday when I work full time, my husband works full time, and we pay taxes for something like this. So it's really hard for me to hear that my sister-in-law is choosing to not work, and it feels like she's bragging about Free Food Friday. I never heard anything back from my father-in-law on that text. No response. I didn't hear anything ever again. Like, how could you say that? But yeah, like I said, might be an unpopular opinion, but don't brag about Free Food Friday to me. Finally, and I've spoken about this before, but probably the biggest shift in how I saw my father-in-law, my mother-in-law, my oldest sister-in-law, and my brother-in-law occurred at Ridgedale Mall in Minneapolis in Christmas of 2018. It was Christmas Eve. Oldest sister-in-law was in town. Middle sister-in-law wasn't. I bet you knew that already. Oldest sister-in-law had it in her mind that she wanted her kids to see Santa on Christmas Eve. So we drove from my parent-in-law's house to Ridgedale Mall. We got there and we had just missed the kiosk to do that had closed. I don't know, not long enough ago that, like, you know, they were taking down the queue where you line up, but not long enough that the people had left. We could see from the posted sign that hours were over. And so to me, hours are over means that hours are over. Oh, bummer. Maybe we wanted to see Santa, but the hours are over. And so let's go do something else. But the sign did not mean that to my in-laws. I can't remember who first marched up to the counter and demanded that, well, these kids need to, we came, we're here, we need to see Santa. It escalated to the point that my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law were being, I wanted so disrespectful to the staff about how important we were. We are here. We want to see Santa because we matter more than everybody else. We matter more than the people who want to go home. It's Christmas Eve. They want to go home to see their families. That doesn't matter because we are here and we want to see Santa. I wanted to crawl under a rock. And at the same time, this is not an excuse for me not like standing up for these people, physically grabbing my in-laws and being like, we're not doing this, we're leaving. But this was the first occasion where I was just jaw-dropped at how rude and demanding that we could be to someone's time and just decency. And it's amazing, or it's not, now the more that I know, but when the kiosk did finally be like, fine, we'll open back up just for you very special people. We'll open up so you can see Santa. Mother-in-law was so happy and sister-in-law is smiling and everyone is just so happy that you're going to do this for